Welcome to Walk the Talk, a podcast about people, culture, learning, and the inspiration in between. This is a space in which we'll invite colleagues and specialists to have a chat on what it means to grow and be our best self. Anytime, anywhere. Hi everyone, my name is George Andrieș and I'm the host of the Walk the Talk podcast. Welcome to the 7th episode where we will discuss about mental balance. Our professional and personal lives demand more and more energy and the need for constant adaptation. To keep up with everything, we need to recharge our mental batteries and maintain a balanced life. We have here with us today Alina Sava, Accenture Operations Senior Manager, lead for our Brașov office, and an ally in our mental health program. Alina has been with Accenture for more than 14 years, and during this time, her professional path took her through multiple projects and locations, all while building strong teams and keeping a fulfilling personal life. This required a strong mental balance and constant attention to the well-being of her teams and family. Welcome to Walk the Talk, Alina.
Thank you, Georgia. I'm happy to be here.
Alina, looking at the description and looking at your career, I see that it has indeed been a fulfilling one. You have went through multiple projects and locations. What I would like to ask you is, how did you feel building up this career? Where did you find the motivation and energy to constantly change?
Thank you. Indeed, I mean, looking back, I know at least from a location perspective, I'm in my third Accenture location now. And it looks like it's going to be the long-term one, hopefully. And yes, I mean, the work that I do, being a project manager, implies working based on projects, which is why every at least 2 years, something changes in the work that I do. And I think, to me, change is not necessarily something that I'm looking for. I mean, I like working in a steady environment, but change is also what keeps us growing, the way that I see it. And it's actually through this change that I've also, had exposure to more people, more topics, more types of work. So I guess this is the main driver for the motivation and the energy.
At the heart of every great change is a great human. Come help us create value.
And how about time? How did you find time for all of this? Because it seems that your day has more than 24 hours sometimes.
Well, I think time is a tool, actually, and it can work in our advantage or not. It's up to us how to use it. I am a very active person. I'm a very much a morning person, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, because what I've learned throughout at least last couple of years, as I got not older but wiser, is that also, besides doing a lot of things, it's important to learn how not to do things. So that's part of my personal challenge in the last few months, learning how to not just be active and sort a lot of topics, be in a lot of places, do a lot of things, talk to a lot of people. But I'm also trying to, and I still have a way to go, to learn how to just relax, do nothing.
That's very interesting to point out, to learn how not to do things and maybe sometimes say no. And this is a great transition to our topic for the day, mental health and mental balance. Because in your role as Accenture Operations Location Lead, you have multiple capabilities under your supervision and more than 250 people. So how do you keep them engaged and working towards the same goal? My question is actually, where are the main challenges, especially where you found them during this year, and how you overcame them?
Yeah, I mean, this last year has been indeed a very special one. And I would refer to it not just from from the Brasov location perspective, but also my other job. We have several hats in Accenture. My other job is part of the mobilization team, so leading also the project management team in Romania. I think engagement comes, well, first of all, engagement needs to come not from external sources for each of us, but mainly from internal sources. So what we were trying to do, together with my team, of course, because I'm not the one to discuss with all the 20 plus people in the mobilization team or the almost 300 people in the Brasov team. But the point is to, make this engagement happen through staying close to people, listening to the people, giving them the assurance that they're seen and heard, and that they have a sense of belonging. And to me, this can only be done through the management team. Cascading this and getting to a point where this the level of energy and the connection kind of spreads across through the portfolios, through team leads, through supervisors to the agents. So I think that's otherwise, gathering 300 people and getting them to feel engaged in a 30 minutes call, that's not feasible, and it's not something we tried to do. But I think it needs to come, like I said, from within, and then from all the interactions that each of us have on a daily basis.
And Alina, speaking of engagement and motivation, you are also a mental health ally. Tell us more about how you became one. Has it anything to do with what you've told us already, this need to help, to discuss with people, to seek for opportunities, and maybe just be a friend there who can listen when someone has an issue? Tell us more about this.
Well, I think the important part is to just something that clicked now. It's to listen even if there's no issue. Although I am a problem solver and a person of action, but again, part of my, cooling down, doing nothing or doing less, but being more focused on one activity. I think this is, the mental health part came in a very appropriate moment for me, also from my personal development and personal moment when this program got rolled out. I got pulled in by Ioana Alexandru, who's been a colleague of mine for many years, and she's very enthusiastic. When this was launched, she was of course very enthusiastic of leading the mental health ally program. I was still her career counselor back then, and it kind of felt natural that I join as an ally, and I'm extremely happy that I did, because what all the allies have in common, looking now back to the last year, is that we all care. We care about ourselves first of all, and as a consequence, we also care about the others. So I also realized through this program that I do get energy from staying connected to people, and it did help a lot during last year, especially when I really missed actual interaction, like real type of interaction. Going to the office, meeting with people, having coffees, having lunch. That's something that was, let's say, kind of compensated also through the mental health ally program, and it also encouraged me to be a bit more courageous and just reach out to people, or tell them to reach out to me, even if, like I said in the beginning, there's no problem to fix. I think, going back to what I was saying to the previous question, it's through everyday interactions, again, even if there's not something to solve or something business related to fix, that we can feel that we stay connected, and therefore we're engaged and keep the mental health as well.
And how do you see this energetic transaction, if you want, when you have to talk to someone or just to listen to someone that reaches out to you as a mental health ally? What do you give and what do you get back in return?
That's an interesting one. I think overall it's an exchange of energy, and not the karma, transcendental, whatever type of energy, but strictly seeing a friendly face, knowing that there's someone who you can actually communicate to. And I think also this communication is something that we have, that each of us can improve as we practice it, listening more, not jumping to conclusions, just sharing experience, not judging. I mean, to me, this constant practice of communication, seeing myself how I evolve in my communication, and seeing others how they can how they grow, or how they open, or how they develop through communication and connectedness. I think I also give and receive energy, and overall care for the actual person, not just for the work that the person does, or the issues that they solve or not solve.
And I'm sure you have encountered in your experience as a mental health ally, short as it may have been, because this is quite a recent program that has been introduced within Accenture. But still, I am sure that you had some very interesting situations, maybe difficult moments, but also great experience and stories. So I would like to ask you, and I'm sure that everyone who will listen to this podcast is really curious, what has been your most rewarding experience so far? If you could give some details, not of course giving all the details, but just telling your story, what would be of interest. Let's imagine that you would have to convince someone of becoming a mental health ally. What story would you tell him or her that would determine that person to jump in the program?
That's a difficult one. And actually, in one of my discussions with Ioana, who's leading the Mental Health Ally program, I stated one point of view, which I still stand by, is that being interested in mental health, it's not something you can sell to someone or convince someone to get involved in. And probably that's based on my personal experience. I think, like I said, to me, this came in a very appropriate moment. The ground was there for this mental health ally program seed to fall in properly for me personally. What I realized is that, and yeah, it's gonna be maybe too generic, but what I realized was that as I started becoming more open and more vulnerable in what I was sharing about myself, with a few chosen people, or a few people that I felt I could do that with, the greatest reward to me was actually seeing how, and some of them are colleagues from work and some others are just friends outside work, but I realized that it also kind of pushed them or inspired them into sharing very maybe painful details or very personal and deep details with me, which is something that I don't think they could have spoken about had I not been that open in the first place. And then yes, I think I kind of became, but that's me now. I kind of became a preacher of mental health and self-care from a mental perspective. So a lot of my friends have started going to therapy. I won't say it's because of me, but we've kind of created this context where discussions about mental health, self-care, self-being have become an important topic. So
you opened the door.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, yeah, maybe I'm too scared to take the credit, so I won't. but for all this. But I'm for sure, yeah, part of the reasons why I think I see more and more people around me just opening up, first of all to themselves, because I think that's the biggest first step, and then to others as well. So that's yeah, that's something that really makes me happy, and it's an idea that I go to even when I'm not, when I feel maybe down or sad.
You're being modest here, Alina, for sure. But I'm sure that your contribution and the things that you did and just listening to people made a lot of impact to them. And as you said, they found the will to seek professional help. And speaking about professional help, I have a personal curiosity about being a mental health ally. Are you a psychologist? Are you a coach? Are you a mentor? Or how could we define this? Because maybe some of us may be thinking, what are we here, playing the role of psychiatrist and patient, or psychologist and patient? What is it exactly?
I'm definitely not a professional, neither psychologist nor psychiatrist. And I was, by the way, actually thinking about potentially going to university, so for a psychology degree, but I chickened out when I saw the long list of the 3 years schedule. The names of the classes just sounded probably a bit too scary for me. I would say I'm rather a mentor for the people I mean, or for some of the people that I interact with, and for most of them I think I just want to be a friend. So I'm not trying to become friends with all the 300 people in Brasov or all the hundreds of people I work with, but you know, I do like setting up a friendly environment, because that's how I work best. I work best in a frictionless and relaxed environment. So I kind of try to recreate that with the people I interact with. But the main point around mental health ally program is that no, we're not supposed to be professionals. We're just supposed to be, and we are, people.
So bottom line is that everyone who wants to become a mental health ally and wants to invest the time and energy into this can become one within Accenture.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not, I think the main prerequisite, or the only prerequisite, is having this curiosity around mental health. There's no need to have studies or to be, I don't know what kind of level as we within the Accenture career path. You just have to be, you know, curious about yourself and about maybe how to support others. That's pretty much it.
You can always find out more information on our Facebook page, which is open to anyone. And for those of you who are Accenture colleagues, check out the portal and Romanian news. So Alina, this is a great program from what I've heard, with outstanding results, and it's growing within Accenture, but we also have a life outside of Accenture as well. Is it safe to say that we can apply the principles of a mental health ally also in our personal life? And going in more specific, how do you apply them in your personal life? How do you manage to balance your career, your personal life, your hobbies, the constant changes and movements within your life? Does this program help, and how do you maintain a mental balance in your overall 24 hours a day existence?
You can't care about mental health only at work, because where we're not, well, I'm going to the specifics of how I do it, as you asked me. Of course, I'm the same person. I'm still Alina, whether I'm at work or home. Of course, home, I'm also mom. I have two daughters of 4 and 10. And yes, the same principles apply. Actually, the same principles, like I said, apply to me when I'm interacting with my friends as well, or in my my family, my brother, my parents, and my two daughters. Mainly to them, to my two girls, because they're the ones who also require most of my energy when I'm not at work. So they're my second job type of. And yeah, what I try to do to keep the balance is, first of all, to have as much as possible on a daily basis an actual hard stop. When the work stops, then it stops. The laptop gets shut down. I have no notifications on my phone. I've deactivated them, so I can only look at emails if I manually choose to, or to Teams. So when I'm offline, I'm actually offline. Same on vacations, of course, unless there's anything really urgent. But otherwise, I think just outside the fact that we technically can stay connected to work all the time, I think it's important that we set up the boundaries and actually disconnect. Otherwise, the temptation is to indeed work all the time. And that's part of what I said about myself, trying to do less, or trying to stay away from multitasking. What I also started doing, sometime last year, is also meditation. I'm using one of the available tools, which was also recommended, by the way, through Mental Health Ally. It's called Headspace. It's what works for me. So I think that's also connected with being able to just pause. And the third thing I would mention is, besides work and family, my main insight, if I can call it, in the last year last year and a bit, is that actually the most important person to me is myself. So actually taking time for myself, it's not an act of selfishness, but it's actually it's actually a necessity. So I've started teaching my girls also that I need a 5 minutes break, same as I do at work. So they know that I'm not there for 5 minutes, and we're getting there. But that's because the same principle applies at work and in the family. If I'm okay, so if I'm mentally okay, then the work that I do is okay. The people I interact to will get the best of me. My girls will also get the best mom. Well, not that there's a best mom, but the best of me at that moment. Otherwise, focusing on giving to others is just draining energy, and it's kind of takes you to run on empty at some point.
So is it safe to say, Alina, that in order to have a mental balance, you should put yourself, without any selfishness or modesty here, but you should put yourself in the middle, in the center of your existence? Because this may sound self-explanatory. However, unfortunately, it happens quite rarely.
Yeah, it wasn't... That's actually what I'm saying, yes. And then I think, at least for the people... for the millennials, the examples that we've had from our families are probably completely different. We've always seen, or at least that was my background, but I know it's right common to, sacrifice for others, sacrifice for the children, sacrifice for the job. I think we can do this for a while, but then it actually leaves us in an empty shell type of state. And when there's nothing else to give, you probably just, the shell just collapses. So yes, I think that's what that's part of what I'm preaching, like I said earlier, that we need to take care of ourselves first. Kind of like, I read it somewhere, I don't know where, I'm bad at quotes, but it's kind of like in the airplanes when, the oxygen masks fall off. And if you have a child with you, you need to put your own oxygen or your own mask first and then help the child. But it's the same principle that I think, I strongly believe actually, that we need to follow in life. We can't give unless we have
what's to give.
Yeah, we have. We have a whole self with us.
That's a great analogy, Alina, with the plane masks. And of course, my first thought was vacation. I need to get on a plane and go and just go somewhere. I think this will be very fruitful for my mental balance. We are reaching the end of our discussion, which has been an awesome one. And let's just close it with a piece of advice that you would like to give to our listeners, things that you have learned and that you would like to share, something that you have maybe worked really, really hard to find out, and you can give us a shortcut so that we don't have to go through it ourselves.
Well, actually, my advice, or one of my conclusions, is that there are no shortcuts.
I was hoping
Sorry
not
to say that.
No, so no magic wand, no magic tricks.
No, I mean, almost all the things that I kept on mentioning, I've actually learned them the hard way. And even, knowing what your boundaries are, how much you should work, how much you should not work, how much you should search for yourself or not. These are all, I think, topics you can read about, but and you can hear it from the others, but unless you're actually put in certain situations, they're just words, and you don't know what to do with them. They sound nice, but you don't know whether they apply to you or not, so it's difficult to take them as such. And I think my biggest conclusions actually came through harsh experiences, like, I don't know, a period of a couple of months where I was working 14 hours a day, not getting enough sleep, neglecting family and so on. But I think I needed that, looking back, to understand what my boundaries are, physical, emotional, and everything that happens. I'm not going to say everything that happens for a purpose, but everything that happens is a lesson that we need to learn, whether it's even if at the moment we see it as a maybe negative experience. So I think the biggest thing we can do for us is just to try to look at each experience in a holistic perspective, and try to not stay positive, but make the best out of anything that comes our way.
Make some lemonade out of the lemons that
Yes.
life throws you. Here's another analogy which I hope will take your thought to the beach or somewhere nice. Thank you so much, Alina, for taking the time and for being with us today, and of course for being so open into sharing your insights.
Thank you. I really liked the discussion. I hope it's going to be appreciated, and thanks for having me.
You're all most welcome. We thank you for taking the time, and thanks everyone for tuning in for the 7th episode of Walk the Talk. Our next episode will air in June, and it will be about inclusion and diversity. Thank you all, and stay safe.